Hello, everyone. Welcome to Journeying with Robina. I am your host, Robina Dinsa. I'm so honored and grateful that you chose this hour to spend with us on Dash Radio, on their amazing station, Ruckus Avenue Radio. I'm so honored and gratified to be able to say that this is the most listened to South Asian station in North America, and hopefully the world one day, but one thing at a time. And I'm so happy to share beautiful conversations, insights, teachings, and this is really an hour of just that, kind of an educational hour, and that's kind of how I make it. And every week I'm so lucky to have guests who've inspired me, who've inspired all of you, and sometimes I get to introduce new amazing people who I love to all of you listeners. And so I want to introduce this amazing guest who I have been following for several years, and her name is Emanuelle McIntosh, and she's a spiritual teacher and a channeler, and I'm going to explain a little bit what that is in a second, who does so much amazing work to help raise and shift our collective consciousness. And it's so beautiful. There's a whole world of channeling, and Emanuelle is going to help demystify that a little bit. And channeling meaning connecting to spirit, communicating, sharing messages with really any spirit who's crossed over or may never have been in human form. So Christ conscious beings, deceased relatives, you name it. And there's a lot of channelers out there, and I have been following many on YouTube. And the key, which we're going to discuss, to channeling is the channeler's own filter. Do they operate from the heart or do they operate from the ego? And Emanuelle is one of the few people who, the filter is through the heart. So all the messages she receives, she doesn't, it doesn't sort of go through her ego and she puts a little twist on it. It's kind of a pure channel. And that's what I really loved about her. So I'm excited to learn from you and about you, Emanuelle McIntosh.
Thank you for inviting me to the show. I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. And, to all of those people out there who are not familiar with the world of connecting to spirit and channeling. And, some people think it's just that God-gifted person that can do it, that one or two people. I'd love it if you could just introduce a little bit about what channeling is and how your journey began. Is this something that you always had in you as a child, or how did this whole thing come to be?
Well, first of all, I think that everybody channels in some way or form. We're just not aware that we're channeling. Mm-hmm. We can channel in many different ways. I think the most common one that everybody has is that intuition, that intuitive instinct. But I think in the world, we're taught not to listen to it. We're taught to dismiss it. And we really are taught to move into the analytical mind to make decisions, decisions for your journey, your future, what direction you go into, what you're going to study, making plans. All of that is really it's all in the analytical mind at this moment. And unfortunately, our intuition really is your spiritual team, your higher self, source, God, guiding you in a way. But when we close that awareness, when we dismiss what we feel, then it's really hard for them to reach out to us. So that for me is the most common way to channel. And you have those very extreme cases where, for instance, somebody will get this feeling of, don't go on that airplane, and people really follow it. Those are really spirits trying to prevent you from going on an airplane that might get in trouble. Things like that. But, the very subtle intuition is also guidance, and there's different ways to channel. You have people who truly hear voices in their ears, people who truly see spirits with their eyes. I'm more of an intuitive medium, so for me, Channeling starts with emotions and feelings. I get these very overwhelming, overpowering feelings. And then as I tune into the feelings, I start to see visualizations in my mind's eye. So it's kind of like daydreaming. Your eyes are open, but you're seeing little videos flash before you. You're seeing pictures. And I'll see pictures of what spirits are, what they look like or what they're doing. Or, sometimes they just show a picture of the family. And then a lot of times I will start getting conversations in my mind. So it kind of sounds like me, but it really goes at a very fast pace, and I don't have time to think about what I'm thinking. So that's how I know that, the communication is not really coming from me. And when I do channel, I try to put my human side, separate from it. I kind of separate from myself in a way. So I kind of compare it to me being a radio. So when spirits communicate with us, it's always with energetic frequencies, kind of like sound waves. They're there, but you can't see them. You can't see them until those sound waves hit the radio, and the radio translates those sound waves into music. So that's kind of how I see it. Spirits are communicating with energetic waves, energetic frequencies, and my body is the radio. So the radio operator doesn't need to influence the music. It just needs to make sure that the radio works. And so that's what I do. I separate my own self, my own personality from my vessel, which is my radio. And then I allow my vessel to translate without any interference or any human thought, to translate those frequencies into a language that we can understand. And so for me, that'll be feelings, thoughts, visualizations, and it just kind of flows out as a very fluent conversation in my case. I always tell them they're doing the talking. I allow them to take over my body and to just have a nice conversation with us and share their messages with us. So as to your question on how it started, the awakening or the awareness didn't start to a later age. But what I did notice is that ever since I was a little girl, I think I started noticing it when I was about 6 or 7. I always felt like somebody was watching me. And I remember being very scared in the dark, being very scared in places that I didn't know, because I remember every time I went up to my bedroom, I always felt like someone was standing on the top of my staircase. But I couldn't see them. I couldn't hear them. It was just this kind of knowing that somebody was there. So I remember if I had to go get something, I would just run up the stairs real quick, get it, and run back down. And I did that for years. I remember looking under my bed for years. And really having this heightened sensitivity to energy. I could pick up people's true feelings, people's real thoughts. And that's another thing that I'm really, really good at. Is I am really good at translating energetic frequencies. So people usually can't lie around me. I will pick up on that instantly. And so when they're telling me, when I'm asking, how are you doing? And they go, oh, great, we're doing great. Then I ask, well, what's really going on? What's that? I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, I'm feeling depression, I'm feeling feelings of abandonment. And I will spitball it out to them. And they go, okay, how do you know that? Who did you talk to? So it just confused me as a kid, because people would always smile. Everybody was happy. And then, I would pull on my mom and go, why is she smiling when she's so sad? And I don't think my mom got that. She was like, what are you talking about? She's sad. She's smiling. She's fine. But I could feel their sadness. It just, people were very confusing to me. And then, and that continued my whole life. I've had that sensitivity. But I think when I was 8 years old, I was sexually abused by my grandfather for a while. And that kind of traumatic event really kind of, I think, stopped my development in trying to communicate to whoever was on top of the stairs. Yeah. Because my focus just went on, trying to survive this trauma and trying to get through it.
Of course.
And so at one point, as I came into adulthood and I went through severe anxiety, severe panic attacks. I went through suicidal thoughts. I went through really hating myself, hating people, not being able to communicate to people. I really was very lost the first half of my life. And I got to a point where I just didn't feel right anymore, what I was doing, where I was job-wise. I worked as a store clerk, and I noticed that all I was doing was constantly giving people advice. Mm-hmm. Every time I went there, colleagues would fight over me. Wow. They would be like, no, I want to work with Emma today. I want to work with her because I have something to ask her and she needs to tell me what she feels. So, the whole day long, people were asking me, what do you feel? What do you see? Because everything I said would come true. And I never really kind of stood still by it. I was just like, oh, I must be really good at guessing. That's what I thought. But, that's how it all kind of started. And I started doing readings for colleagues and just kind of people that heard from the colleagues. Because I was still very shy and I still didn't trust many people. And so I didn't really have many friends. But I would do it for them. And they were very, they were always happy with it and surprised. And I was just like, I'm just good at reading energy. That's what I'm good at. I never thought that these were really spirits communicating to me and passing along messages. I never thought that I was being used as a tool to pass along messages. And one day, the job really disappointed me after 15 years, and I fell into this darkness again. And I was like telling myself, no, I am not going back there. And then, so I decided to kind of take a break from work and work on myself. And so I was home every day, and I started to look into Buddhism. I started to study it, and I started to meditate every day, very kind of, on a regular schedule. Started to do yoga and all of that. I really wanted to not go back to that darkness that I had been before. Yeah.
Ruckus Avenue Radio.
And the moment I started meditating, because for me, meditation was very new. And the first month, it was kind of like, oh my God, this is so hard. But after a month, I started to see people in my mind when I was meditating. Like they would come up to me and talk to me. And I was like, who are you? I've never seen you before. Who are you? And so I first got to meet my two angels, which was Raphael and Marna. And they're the first ones who stepped forward. And then I started seeing this young man. And I asked him, who are you? And I just got a smile. He was just looking at me, and he had this big smile and this curly hair, and I was like, who are you? And he just smiled, and I never got an answer. And I think 3 days later, I was looking up Buddhism again. I was into the whole Buddhist thing, and I was studying mindfulness from Thich Nhat Hanh and all of that. And all of a sudden, this interview pops up. And it was an interview with Buddha, and I had never seen, and it was with Jamie Butler, who's one of my mentors, and I love her to pieces. And it was on something called Channeling Eric. And I looked at that interview, and I had never seen anything like that. I had never seen channeling done like that. For me, channeling was, with the tarot cards and all of that kind of, talking through your bowl, your little glass bowl. I had never seen anybody just channel a spirit like that before. I knew that they could communicate with me and all of that, but not in that form. And I couldn't take my eyes off of it. And it just resonated with me. It was something clicked. And they were talking about Eric, but there was no picture of Eric or nothing. So I really didn't it didn't click that was the young man that came and knocked on my door while I was meditating.
Oh, wow.
And then I went to the website, and there was this picture, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the guy who I saw. And then it just kind of stirred it from there, and the rest is history.
and you know what, just to interject, that's how I know who you are. So for all of you out there, there is still a channel on YouTube called Channeling Eric, and it was started by Eric's mother, Elisa, and Eric had committed suicide when he was, 20 or 21 or something, Emanuelle?
I think he was 21.
Yeah, when he was 21. And then after he passed away, he started appearing to his mother and other people, and people from all around the world, including Emanuelle, including Jamie Butler, who she just mentioned, and all sorts of people. And through that, there's this beautiful show that came to be. And now, there's all sorts of channels and all sorts of people who convey messages, and they communicate with Eric. And so it's I'm not sure if I'm explaining it right, but it's, Eric is, I guess, I don't know, he conveys guidance and wisdom, and he also brings forth a lot of other people and a lot of other beings, from like Einstein to Jesus, literally. And so he sort of he's kind of, angelic in his own right, because he sort of has opened up this huge world for all of us here. And, it's really thanks to his mom also, who's just had, it's a great service to everyone. I've learned a lot. But again, I go back to filtering everything through our own truth, because not everything that we hear is completely the truth, because we have the ego of certain channelers. But then when it comes to Emanuelle and Jamie and a few others, and my teacher, Pamela Erlin, they're very clear. So the message is almost like from Eric to us. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think, when it comes to the filters, what's really important is that when you do channel, that you don't attach any need to it from a personal perspective. I am doing this because Spirit asked me to, but, I don't do it for fame or for the ego, or to, make millions of dollars off of it, because
yeah,
it's, the thing is, I think when it comes to, and this is without judgment, but when it comes to channeling, it's really hard to not be invested in what is going to be presented to the world. And that's one thing that I feel I'm very strong in, whether I do this or whether I, run a farm, for me is equally valuable. That's my plan B, by the way. I would love to have a farm and some farm animals, grow my own foods and veggies, and teach people how to live with Earth again, how to live with Mother Earth instead of, next to her. That's my biggest, one of my other dreams, is to teach people to really ground themselves again with where we are, because so many people are lost, or they feel disconnected, they feel alone, so many people are struggling financially, and Mother Earth, in my perspective, really has everything to offer on every way. I mean, she heals us. She provides medicine. She provides food. She provides air. She provides oxygen. It's just, she's everything we need. And I feel like that relationship amongst peoples and our environment needs to improve. And I think, that would be equally valuable for me. So whether I am on YouTube or not would not really make a difference in why I feel I'm here. I'm here to help and teach people, open their awareness, look beyond what is visible, look beyond what is, what you can hear, and understand that there's a higher power that is loving us, and that is supporting us, and that is allowing us to be free, completely free, to create and choose the journey that we are in at this moment. And there's so much there's so much judgment on the world. Everything needs to be according to these societal rules, what is bad, what is good. But really from a spirit perspective, there just is. There's no good or bad. And, if we could all kind of nurture and support each other in the needs that we have in order to help us move in a positive direction, to help us feel fulfilled and loved and supported, I think the world would be a whole different place.
Absolutely. And to just, not identify with the it's good or it's bad, and to get into that is space, it requires a clearing of, like you were saying, this vessel. And unfortunately, this vessel can get really, really clouded with the things and beliefs and emotions that we've picked up along the journey. And then we start identifying with it. And we start thinking that this is who we are. And it sort of skews our perception and how we perceive this whole world. And then co-creating with it becomes really, really hard. And that's why I guess we have these blocks and we can't seem to create and achieve and sort of have the life that we want, because there's sort of that layer is kind of clouded. So that knowing becomes clouded. But for you, Emanuelle, it seems like you've always had this gift. But what about, let's say, someone who's listening right now and says, what, I want to tap into my own space of knowing, but what do I do? How do I get there? Like, where do they start?
Right. And like I said, everybody can channel, everybody can do it, but we also have to eliminate the idea of what that should look like. Oh. I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people say, I should hear them, I should feel them, I should see them, I need validation that I'm not just making this stuff up. Mm-hmm. The moment we are in a state of need, fear arises because we're afraid. I think Jesus said in the interview that I did, fear is a need announced. A person who doesn't need anything will not fear anything. So, and that's the thing is, you have to let go. You have to surrender to all these fears and needs and wants. If I don't connect, then I didn't achieve this, or I didn't, fulfill this, or I'm a loser, or I'm a failure. There's so much fear attached to it. So what spirits always tell me is connecting to spirit needs to be in a playful mode. It needs to be in that playfulness. When you're a child, we play just to play. We don't play to achieve a certain degree. We don't play to achieve a certain end result. That's the do state of being. We brush our teeth so they would be clean. We eat so our bodies would be fed. Everything we do nowadays, especially as adults, everything we do has some kind of end result attached to it, some kind of expectation attached to it. When we play as children, we just play to play. There's no expectation on it. There's no demand on it. There's no end result attached to it. And so in order to get to that connection, you have to be able to just be in that playful state and not have expectations attached to it, because expectations come from fear, and anything seeded from fear will block, hinder, or disrupt your connection. That's number one. Like you said, number two is you really need to clear your vessel. And that, I've worked on that for several years, and I have a class on Learning Live that's called The Road to Enlightenment, which is 6 classes where I teach people how I did it. It took me 20 years, but I'm teaching people in about 6 months how to do it. And it's really about undoing the brainwashing that we receive from the moment we're born. It's really about changing or eliminating false belief systems and replacing them with universal truth. It's really about, clearing the clutter out of your system, because, by the time you're 5 years old, you're so brainwashed by watching TV, that tells you what to eat, what to play with, how to dress. It really, we're so conditioned by everything that we see and then by our family, our friends, school systems who tell us how to think, how to, and it's always about who you're going to be later on. Come on, you're 6 years old and they're already asking you what you're going to be when you grow up. Allow everything to flow naturally, but we're taught to rush into things. We're taught to not think for ourselves. We are taught to completely disregard our own intuition, our own feelings, and we are taught to fit into a mold that they have created for you so you can be productive and you can fit into society the way that they want you to fit into.
Ruckus Avenue Radio.
And so in those classes, like I said, I teach people how to declutter all of that. Because we live in a virtual reality. The thing we call life is really a virtual reality created by our consciousness. It's kind of like a movie. We're taking a picture every second, and just our consciousness will create that fluent motion. But it's really all an illusion. And so what happens is, we create with our conscious mind. So what you believe acts as law into your journey. It will become reality for you. It's not going to be reality for everyone, but when you believe it, it's going to become a reality. If you believe that every winter there's going to be a flu season and you're going to get sick, then guess what? You're going to get sick every time, because that's what your belief system says, and that's what it attracts with the law of attraction, because what you say, what you express, what you send out energetically will always be created and manifested at some point in time. And that's really what it is. So we need to, and I think I explained that very well in the classes too, you need to, number one, clear the clutter. Get rid of all the old beliefs, replace it with enlightened ideas, replace it with universal principles, replace it with universal truth and wisdom. And then what you need to do is you need to become very aware of every thought and every feeling that you have and that you send out. So you can then replace negative feelings. You can replace disempowering questions, for example. Why me? Why am I being punished? Why did I lose my job? Why do people hate me? Those are disempowering questions. When you put your focus on what you send out, you can then redirect it. You can stop yourself from doing it and going back in that negative direction. And then you can choose to refocus onto something positive, and you can, change your question. For example, you go to, I wonder what good is in the world that I haven't experienced yet. I wonder what it feels like to have a job that I get inspired by every day. I wonder what it feels like to have a relationship based on trust, mutual respect, and love. Those are respectful, empowering questions. So it's really about, in a way, reprogramming your mind and your autopilot, your automatic responses emotionally, and your automatic thought patterns, replacing them with the right ones. And then you literally will see this whole door open up. Why? Because when we're being overshadowed with all this negativity, false beliefs, false statements, and so on and so forth, you live in a lower, denser vibration. But when we clear out all that clutter and we really reconnect with our truest self, we reconnect with the vibration of our soul, which is a higher vibration, then we actually reach out to spirits. They always reside in a very high vibration. And in order for them to connect, they have to lower their vibration a bit, but we as humans have to raise our vibration up. And so we kind of meet in the middle. So the more you live in a positive state of mind, the more you send out positivity, the higher your vibration, and the easier it is to communicate with spirit.
Absolutely. And the beautiful thing is that we never have to go back in time and say, this happened to me when I was 14, this happened to me when I was 20, and replay the events, because that's kind of like time traveling. So you're going to re-feel exactly what you felt, all of that heavy, heavy, dense emotion back into the now. So the key is to extract what you believed yourself to be in that moment. And it's that belief. If we can clear that, then everything else sort of like a domino kind of gets cleared. And and it's never too late. So a lot of people ask me, well, I've been doing this or a certain way for 50, 60 years. I can't change now, but you can. And it doesn't have to take like years and years to do it. It's literally just a shift. And I'm sure you'll agree, Emanuelle, it's a daily disciplined routine is how you kickstart things. It's not going to happen.
Absolutely.
And throw back drinks,
Yeah.
It's routine. And that's good for our humanness, right? To get into a routine.
It is, we are kind of routine animals in a way. But yeah, it does, in order for you to get to that state where it becomes your natural state of being, before you get there, you really have to go into a lot of self-discipline, and it's really about pushing you. Even if you don't feel like meditating, do it anyway. It's really about pushing yourself, and challenging yourself to change. And it starts with the idea of, enough is enough. I need change. It starts with the first kind of determined idea of this is what's going to happen. And then it just develops into practice, daily practice, into self-discipline, and into, turning the intellectual into the practical, really becoming what you know. Because so many people understand the universe, they understand the law of attraction, they understand so much, but putting it into practice in their daily lives seems to be the hardest bit. And that's where the self-discipline comes into, and the determination to really go for that, to go in that direction of peace and balance and harmony. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we have the gift of life where we can put our practice into, in our experiences. So when something goes wonky, or when someone yells at you or accuses you or does whatever, we can honor the feeling, but then step into, okay, what is this there to teach me? And understanding that everything is a lesson, everything and everyone is a teacher. So all of those people who we label, that person is a narcissist, that person is bad, good, it's all a mirror for what you're feeling in this now moment. And as soon as we shift that, then those people, it's not that they'll go away, but it'll start slowly dissolving, and how we see them will be very, very shifted. It's almost very magical, but you got to try it out. You have to actually put this into practice. So take what you learn in the yoga class and actually apply it. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, don't really know how to do that. They think, okay, I did the yoga, I did the meditation, so isn't that good enough?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think people get stuck in that kind of shame blame story. It's their fault, it's my fault, it's they kind of and the thing is, when you're in that blame and shame story and you keep repeating that in your head over and over and over again, even though it happened like 20 years ago, every time you think about it, you just brought it into the now moment. It just became part of your reality today, and so you are reliving every second of that. And so when we get stuck in that blame or shame story, we really get stuck in victim consciousness, and we become either victimized by ourselves because we cannot find forgiveness, or find a way to kind of embrace that not so pleasant experience, or we continue to surround ourselves with people who are constantly victimizing us. We stay in a family, for example, who's very abusive, for example, who have been for years, and people will complain about it and they want out, but they just don't have the courage to take those steps. And when you do that, you really kind of get stuck in that victim consciousness. And whenever you're in there, it's really hard to become a manifester of your own journey, because every energy, every feeling, every thought, every energy really comes from, or is being influenced by that victim consciousness. So it's really hard to rise above from that. And I think the best way to do that is finding forgiveness. And like you said, everybody who challenges you, every event that really that pushes your buttons, that really pushes your limits, keep in mind that up there in heaven, both your souls are looking together with a cup of coffee in their hand probably, and going, wow, you're really doing your best trying to push my buttons, but look at me go. look at me go. We're going. See that growth right there. So, I always say, bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul, because we choose these challenges, and we choose the people who are going to provide us with those challenges, believe it or not. Yes. So I think what's important is to understand that even though we undergo these relationships, because relationships is very important in a human lifetime, they provide contrast. So we can learn who we want to be from those relationships, but we can also learn who not to be from those relationships. That's what they're providing for us. But it's just, it's important to be able to look at what is happening from kind of a neutral perspective. Allow yourself to feel what you feel. Number one, okay? We're not saying here that, you can't be sad when somebody dies, or you can't be mad when somebody hurts you, or whatever. I always say allow yourself one day to really have those human emotions. I do that for myself. I will have a day of crying, or I will have a day of being angry. And I will tell my spiritual team, taking a break, having a human moment, I'll be fine tomorrow. And the next day, then I will completely go into neutral phase and go, okay, what is it that they're trying to show me here that I need to rise above, that I need to transcend, that I need to embrace, to really kind of look at it from a neutral perspective. And then you can, and then just step 3, the third day, is really about embracing that, So step 1 is allow yourself to be human. Step 2 is, create insight and understanding. Why is this happening? What are they teaching me? Try and look through the matrix. Don't look at the emotional aspect, but look through the matrix. What's happening here? What am I reflecting upon these people that I need to work on? And then step 3 is really about embracing it and moving forward and finding forgiveness. And forgiveness is not saying, hey, what you did was okay. Totally. Forgiveness is saying, hey, I love myself so much that I don't need your shit anymore, so I'm going to cut it. I'm cutting that energy out of my life. I no longer need that negativity, so I forgive you for not understanding that in that moment you hurt me and you affected me greatly. So you kind of you forgive to give yourself peace, not to let them off the hook. That's not what forgiveness is.
Ruckus Avenue Radio.
And then you move on. You really kind of clear that energy. And once you start clearing clutter, because I did that for several months. Every day in my shower, I would forgive one person who hurt me for something. I would do that every day. I would just pick one thing, one memory that really hurt me from when I was really little, kids in school who would pick on me and bully me and all of that. And I would just move up. And, literally I could feel with every forgiveness act, I could feel like I was becoming lighter, like I was losing weight. It literally felt lighter every time I got out of my shower, until eventually I got to a point where I'm like, okay, we're good. And so now what I do is every day I still look back. Will go over my day and I'll go, okay, is there anybody I need to forgive today? And that way I never allow myself to kind of carry that luggage with me anymore. That's done. I'm done with that.
The beautiful thing is that we always have the choice. We can forgive, and we don't have to have that person physically in our life. And kind of what you and I were talking about before we went on air, that nothing and no one was ever ours to begin with. So it's not possible to lose something that was never ours. And we're always so scared to let that person go. Oh no, oh my God, what's my life going to be like now? And your life is going to be exactly what it always was and is. It's a very powerful thing to forgive and to make that choice that I no longer want you. And sometimes you don't have to have those big conversations. Life will take care of that for us. It'll just simply dissolve and fade away, those connections, very almost magically, Mm-hmm. So, and I also like what you said about neutrality. That's something that I really teach in depth, because we don't create from our life from a space of being sad and hating people and hating things, or from this spiky happiness. You create from neutral, and neutral isn't indifference. Neutral is balance and observation. and then create. You know, it's in kind of that sequence, because if you're feeling really crappy and then you decide to manifest and take, I don't know, some online course on manifesting, well, you're going to manifest more of that crappiness, you know? So,
yeah. And I think when it comes to manifesting, you know, a lot of people are trying really hard with their mind and visualizations, and they make one of those boards where they stick up everything they want to have. But what they're forgetting is, as long as the heart is not on the same, as long as the heart is not on the same frequency, you're not manifesting anything.
Totally. That's why it's hard. Like, some people are like, it didn't work. Well, yeah, because again, we go back to this vessel. You got to spike that vibration. And how do you do it? You got to clear this thing. And it's okay. Like, not everything has to be completely cleared and you're, you know, on a super high vibration, but the majority, especially of the heavy disempowering beliefs, if you can clear those, then everything will be a lot more effortless, a lot more in the flow, you know, because we can't do it all in, like, maybe it'll take the whole lifetime to completely clear our bodies, but it doesn't mean we can't have the life we want. You know,
evolution is going to continue even after this lifetime. So I don't think evolution ever stops.
Yeah.
But when it comes to manifesting, you know, another thing that I think people need to understand is that one of the biggest reasons manifestations don't come is because we try to limit what that manifestation looks like. You know, I want that specific job. I want a relationship with a lady who has blonde hair and looks like this, blue eyes, and does this for a living. And we try to, when we do that, when we're really specific on what we want to manifest, we literally limit the universal power to give you something even better than what you can imagine right now. And so what I think is more important is that you send out what experience you want to manifest. You know, instead of saying, I want a blonde lady with blue eyes who is a stewardess and whatever, request this to the universe. I would love to experience a relationship that's built on mutual respect, love, and unconditional support, for example. You know, when we try to manifest an experience, you're going to have a lot better results than if you try to manifest very specific details, because you're literally kind of limiting the universe in providing that for you. And even if you do get that blonde or blue hair, who says that she's going to love you? You know.
But you're also, like you said before, you're attaching that expectation and need onto it. Oh my God, that's like fear right away. That's going to block things, you know?
Yep. And anything that sprouts from fear blocks. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But it is hard to be fearless in a human lifetime. And, you know, if you guys need a good guide or a good teacher, just ask Bruce Lee to come in, because that's what I did. And he will help you. He really is a great teacher in teaching you self-discipline and teaching you being fearless and creating your own journey and so on and so forth. So he's a great teacher. So don't be afraid to ask. That's another thing that I think is really funny when it comes to channeling. People have this idea, why would they come and talk to me? They don't know who I am.
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
That's a great one, right? Well, the reality is we're all connected, and we all are, if you want to look at it from a human perspective, we are all each other's friends, family, and so on and so forth to some degree. And so when spirits communicate to us, they are happy to be of service. They're happy to help because you're their family. Why wouldn't they help you? They love you. So it doesn't matter whether they knew you in this life form or not. At some point in time or space, although time and space are not really, they're real illusions, but let's not go into that. That's a whole other hour right there. When they connect to you, they do it from a perspective of love and respect, because they understand that you are them and they are you. So by helping you, they actually help themselves. And that's another thing I think in when it comes to humans, some people really, wow, they really intentionally want to hurt everyone else. But then the thing is, what they don't understand is that, and then they will when they go home and they get their life's review, they will understand. But what they don't understand in that moment is that by hurting others, you're truly hurting yourself first. So anyway, that's how spirits see it. You know, they love everyone equally, and they will, at some point in time, you probably guys have crossed paths in some way or form, whether on Earth or other planets or other entities, who knows? But we're all connected, we're all one, and we are all reflections of each other. In some way or form. So yes, don't be afraid to reach out to spirits that you think might be able to assist you. You know, if you want to be a writer, don't be afraid to, you know, ask a writer to come and help you. If you want to be a singer, don't be afraid to ask a singer for advice. I can guarantee you they would be more than willing to help you and assist you in this journey.
It's so beautiful. And then people are probably thinking, oh God, this is going to take some deep 12 hours of meditation, and I don't even know how to meditate. But no, it's asking. It's literally what you just did. It's just simply asking with that.
Yeah, it's just asking. It really is.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. It's easier. It's more easier than we think.
But I think it's asking and then just receiving and believing that, you know, whatever message comes forward, and that messages can come in many different forms. For example, you know, every time, you know, I love Freddie Mercury. His energy makes me feel great. And whenever I'm having a down moment, I always go, come on, Freddie, just give me some energy. And then, you know, songs on the radio, I'll be hearing one Queen song after another. It's really about opening your awareness and being present in the now moment, because spirits is always in the now. And I think a lot of people are so distracted with living in the past. They're always with their heads somewhere in the past, or they're always worried about their future. And when you're in those two places, you're going to miss out on some great communication that they're trying to send you. You're going to miss out, because there is an eternal broadcast being sent to you. But you kind of have to see it like this, you know. Imagine God, source, all that is, however you want to call it, being out in heaven or in space or whatever. And we're on Earth. And you know how around Earth there's all this clutter that's floating around from all the space shuttle stuff that's been dumped. Yeah. And it's just all floating around. And so there's this eternal broadcast from God's little antenna, and it's sending it down to Earth, trying to reach you. But as long as that clutter is there, as long as the belief system is there that you need to be special to communicate to spirit, that, you know, oh, maybe this is just my imagination, maybe this is just coincidence, which is another great one. Mm-hmm. You know, all of that creates clutter around your, you know, atmosphere. And so when the broadcast tries to reach you, it'll bounce off of all this clutter. And so the messages will only reach you partially, or they'll be disformed, or they won't make sense, or you don't get anything at all. And so when you open that awareness to the now moment, and you really become aware of every little detail that goes on around you, a butterfly that just flies right by your face, a song that comes on the radio, you're looking around and you're seeing a license plate in front of you that says love yourself, things like that, billboards, you know, they use all kinds of things. They even use other people. They will use people to try and pass on a message. You know, all of a sudden there's somebody you know, and they'll be like, so I had this dream and I wanted to share it with you. There's a message in there. Or you'll pass by and you'll accidentally hear two strangers talking about something that you were just asking, you know, something in that same era.
Ruckus Avenue Radio.
Spirits will use all of the tools they have, and so it can come in so many different forms to try and reach you. And sometimes even being sick is a way for spirit to tell you, hey, you need a break. You need to slow down. You need to sit down with yourself and try to, establish whether or not you want to continue this job. You know, let's say you really don't like your job. You're really unhappy. People are mean to you. You don't like it. You don't like what you do. But you just our heart is saying, get the heck out of there. Get out of there. Yeah. But again, there's the intuition. And what does our mind do? No, we can't. We have to pay bills and we need to do that. And what if you don't find a new job? And what if? So there's the intuition, the universe, your spiritual team telling you, get out. And the human mind interferes. The human belief system interferes. The human fears interfere. And you don't do it. So what is left for spirit to do to get through to you? The only thing they got left is to use your physical body against you. And what they will do is they can make you literally sick, not to a point where you're dying, but they will make you, incapable of going to work. So you have time to look around, to maybe look at new jobs, to think about what you really want to do. They will give you time and space to do that. And sometimes, like I said, illness is a tool to do that. I knew a lady, and she hated her job, and she was like, oh my God, I want a new job, but I don't have time because I have kids and this and that, and I have to do shopping, and I never have time to go and look out for new work or even teach myself something or learn something new, go into a little class somewhere. And so one day she goes to work, and she got hit by a car on her way to work. Oh. And so because she broke her leg, she was fine otherwise, but she broke her leg in several places, so it did take some time to heal. So she was home for like 6 or 7 months, and she got fully paid because it was on her way to work. Because she said, I can't take time off because then I don't get paid. But here in Belgium, if you're on your way to work and you get into an accident, you get paid your full pay. It's an insurance that you have. And so she did. She got paid for 7 months straight. She didn't lose any income, and it gave her the time to look for a new job. And as soon as she was allowed to go back to work, she quit and she moved into the new job. Wow. So you see, sometimes, you have to look beyond the painful. You have to look beyond the negative and really see that there's meaning and purpose behind everything. If you're late for work, if you're late for this, or you're stuck in traffic, and then this happens, and then that happens, God is trying to protect you from something. Maybe if you left earlier, you would have been in that accident that you just passed by, that made you slower. You don't know, but you have to find some kind of faith that everything happens with reason and intention, that nothing is uninvited, and that things like coincidence don't really exist. So when you do think, oh, was that a message? Oh, did I just see something in the corner of my eye and now I don't see anything? Was that me imagining that? No. The moment you question whether or not that was spirit, don't question it. That is your validation right there. Validate it. Say, hey guys, I think I saw you, so thank you for that, and I appreciate you coming around. The more you validate, the more you are telling the universe that it is so. You are receiving the communication, and the more the law of attraction will provide you with bigger and better and clearer messages and communications to come. And that's where it comes with. Validate it even if you're not sure, because when you do, you will manifest clearer communication.
For sure. And the more we do that, the more we see the intentions of other people, so that we won't, and I'll put kind of in quotes, waste time. You'll be shown right away what that person's intention is. So you won't have to go through a year or two of being in some sort of relationship with that person, whether it's work or personal or friendship. They will show their colors. You will see what they're all about. And then you can make that choice. And it's very empowering to be able to make choices, because you're also, like you said, sending that signal to the universe, and the universe will respond in kind, and it will respond and say, okay, she honors herself. Let's send her more situations to honor. And then we're filled with people who resonate on our vibration. It's all about that. It's spiking that vibration and, taking that inner journey. And like we were saying before, getting into that disciplined routine until it becomes, kind of part of your daily life. And then you can do tweaks. So every day you don't have to wake up like a, military schedule, but, some sort of spiritual inner mindfulness practice will really serve us all well. So.
Yeah. And sometimes creating some moments of silence, even if it's only 3 minutes, every now and then during your day, stop yourself from what you're doing. Just focus on your breath and for like 3 counts, and then continue what you're doing. It's about disrupting autopilot and really making sure that your awareness is constantly in the now moment. I think that's important.
Absolutely. And I just want to thank you so much, Emanuelle. This has been a wonderful hour, and I feel like so many people learned so many valuable tools, and I highly encourage everyone to check out your work. And what's the best place to reach you? Is it your Facebook group or YouTube or all of the above?
Oh, a little bit of all. I have a website, EmanuelleMcIntosh.com, and I have a great Facebook group that's mostly focused on spiritual evolution, but also on being human and making that a pleasant experience, and on positivity. It's all about focusing on what we do want in this life so we can create it instead of focusing on what we don't want. And my group is called Rolling with Emma on Facebook. And then, yeah, I have a YouTube channel that's just in my name, Emanuelle McIntosh.
Wonderful. And I highly encourage all of you to go back in time or see the older things from a few years ago, and very, very fascinating things, beautiful channelings, and you'll really notice the difference if you guys start getting into the whole channeling world of what feels like, I don't know if I believe that, or what resonates as truth. And for me, it's, the few people like Emanuelle and Pamela and a few other people, but not that many. And, if you guys get into this world, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I want to thank you so much, Emanuelle. It was an amazing, amazing hour. And I'm so happy that you were here sharing your beautiful teachings and guidance.
Oh, thank you. This was a lot of fun. We should do this again.
I would love it. I would love it. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for choosing this hour to be a part of this show. And, let me know your feedback through my social media. And, I'd love to know your thoughts on channeling. And I wish you all a really, really beautiful Sunday. Thanks so much for joining. Bye, everyone.
Bye.